Dr. Toni Cooper. Wow, what a really, really, really great conversation with Dr. Toni. Dr. Toni is a psychologist. Very interesting backstory or origin story, as the kids like to say. In a family, went to Catholic school, learned structure and discipline were the two greatest things she said she took from school, but had an early connection with Jesus at age 16. She talks about what it was like and how the relationship grew to where she is now. She's been practicing for over 40 years. The difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, her view on discipline itself. Very, very interesting, very unique. Really enjoyed the time with her. She's an author as well, podcaster. We talk about how people get stuck and how to get them out of being stuck, and how she separates her spirituality and her psychology. It was just a wonderful conversation with Dr. Toni Cooper. I thank her so much for the time, and I thank you for watching and listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pins, and here's my 45-second introduction. After starting my business in the 90s, I started developing poor habits of eating in my diet because I was working way too much. Before you know it, I found myself 340 pounds. The doctor told me if I don't lose the weight, I'm not going to see my daughter graduate. Took the next 7 months, lost 130 pounds. People think there's some secret. Ask me, how'd you lose that weight? Like there's some secret. There is no secret. How'd I lose the weight? Just one word: discipline. I've had other successes in life, and I attribute them all to discipline. Now, I'm not the king of discipline, but I believe that it can help all of us. Friends, colleagues convinced me to start a podcast. The podcast mission: how do we better ourselves and society? I talk to interesting people in health, fitness, sport, wellness, business, technology, science, art, and culture. And I eventually ask them how discipline plays a role in their life. Podcast vision: growth through learning from others. One you'd like to, Dr. Toni Cooper, thank you so much for your time today. What do you like better if you had to choose, if you had to do it today, pickleball or ballroom dancing?
Ooh, I think pickleball.
Really?
Yeah. I've been doing ballroom dancing way longer.
I see.
But unless you have a partner you're sort of into, it's not as much fun.
Now, are you talking about pickleball or ballroom dancing?
Ballroom.
Oh, I see. Because you could almost say the same thing for pickleball, I guess, right? If your partner...
If you like get along with the person you play with, that's good enough.
That's right.
But if you have somebody touching you, and sometimes you have to do things that are, I mean, even in social dancing, it's not like television. You're not like glued to each other half naked. It's like way different, like at a wedding or something.
Sure. And in pickleball, as long as you stay out of that kitchen, you'll be just fine. How did you get into ballroom dancing?
I knew I needed a hobby, and I was part of a singles group that some of the people did some ballroom dancing. And so, the guys always want to show you some steps. So I thought, wow, this is sort of fun. And then I just started getting into it for another hobby of something to do, because, I need hobbies that don't use the brain, that do other things. So I just sort of got into it, and then I learned another dance, and then it just sort of took off.
In this fast-paced MSP landscape, how do you stay ahead? Introducing MSPinfluencer.com, your ultimate hub for MSP news, insights, and community connection, powered by Forza Dash. More than 75,000 MSPs subscribe to our MSP Influencer Pulse weekly newsletter, staying informed and ahead of industry trends. Tune in to emerging podcasts from Joey Pins and leading MSP voices, offering essential tips, powerful insights, and success stories. Explore our multi-authored blogs, crafted specifically for MSP leaders, delivering fresh perspectives and actionable strategies. Celebrate excellence with the industry-leading Forza-MSP Influencer Awards, recognizing innovation, leadership, and impact in the MSP community. Join thousands of MSP professionals who trust MSPinfluencer.com to grow their business and expand their networks. MSPinfluencer.com, where today's MSP leaders connect, collaborate, and conquer, all powered by the Forza platform, helping MSP vendors work effectively with MSPs and helping MSPs grow. And your favorite dance?
Samba.
Yeah, samba. And why? Because is it liberating? What is it about the samba? Everybody loves the samba.
The music is pretty upbeat.
Mm,
It's a tiny bit sensual, but it's not gross.
right.
And I just love the rhythm.
Hmm. Yeah, the rhythm. The rhythm's gonna get you. Yeah, I like you said, I've always wanted to try ballroom dancing, but you have to have a good partner, right?
Well, or someone that's starting with you.
Ah, yeah,
So
that's
if you're
it.
both beginners, and people usually start with swing. That's a good
Really?
place to start. Yeah. I think it might be the easiest to learn. You can do it to quite a few different like kinds of songs. Whereas the more specialized the dance, you may only be able to do it to certain kinds of music. So swing is pretty good, cha-cha is pretty good,
Cha-cha.
hustle, those you can do to almost anything on the dance floor. Like if you just go to a regular place or a wedding and you like want to show off your moves.
Mm. And there's always somebody leading and somebody following, correct?
Well, the guy's supposed to lead,
Right.
and the leading is different steps from the following.
Wow.
So if somebody asks me, can I teach him to dance? It's like, well, not really, because I only know my part and your part is
Right.
not the same.
And is it the opposite? His right, your left? Is it?
There's definitely opposites, but sometimes they have to do extra things with their arms or their feet, which I don't learn because I don't need to be an instructor. But they're doing something different so that I know what I'm supposed to do.
Hmm. Toni, what pulled you into psychology?
Oh, a lot of things. Very dysfunctional family, which I'll talk a tiny bit about.
Okay.
I saw a movie that really influenced me. And there was a career day in 9th grade. So those things sort of converging together, that sealed it.
Movie, family, and career day.
Yep.
How do they intersect?
Did you go to Catholic school by any chance?
I did not, but I have plenty of friends that did.
Well, there's bad parts to it.
Of course.
But one of the really good things was they wanted you to be prepared to think and also to do something with your life. And so in 9th grade, we had career day. And so I think we got 15 minutes. We could sign up to listen to someone for 10 or 15 minutes in different careers. And the ones that fascinated me were the psychiatrist and the lawyer.
You could see how there's a kind of a parallel there.
To me, they're very different.
And what attracted you to those?
One is attacking and one is supportive, but they both
Interesting.
can help you make money. But yeah, attorneys have to be pretty aggressive. I'm sure you know that.
Of course. Yeah, yeah. And so you saw these two speak, and you shut off being a lawyer right away.
Pretty fast. Maybe the movie was around the same time, and that really.
And what movie is that?
It was called Captain Newman, M.D.
Boy, that sounds
It's
familiar.
an old movie with Gregory Peck
Okay.
and Angie Dickinson. And he was a psychiatrist working with patients at a VA hospital. And the main patient had PTSD. And I ended up, when it was time for me to do my internship, I got an internship at the VA working with PTSD. So
How do you like that?
that was awesome. Yeah.
And the difference between psychology and psychiatry?
Psychiatry, people think psychiatrists do therapy, but mostly they do meds.
Interesting.
Psychology, we talk you to death.
I hope not to death, Toni.
Well, I use sort of extreme language. It gets the point across.
It sure does.
But then people remember the difference.
Good point. And what is the difference between a therapist and a coach?
My understanding is a coach is supposed to help you work on moving towards the future, whereas a therapist, a psychologist, we're going to dig a little bit everywhere, like what in the past is interfering with you meeting your goals. what emotions are you stuck in and where did that start? Because I can get you unstuck better if I know where it started.
Hmm.
And a lot of times people do know.
And while you're studying psychology, how often do you use it on yourself? I mean, how often do you have to be kind of ground zero for everything you're learning?
Well, I do everything on myself.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Um, a lot of reasons. I mean, I think most of us know what's wrong with us deep down, whether we admit it or not.
Hmm.
And I didn't want to be certain things about myself I didn't like, I wanted to change. Other things I realized this is really a problem. I don't want to keep doing this. And so, you know, I think I would think most people use it on themselves when they know it. Just like people who read self-help books, they're going to try to use it on themselves.
Hmm.
So a lot of it was I was unlearning dysfunction I grew up with.
Hmm.
Some of it was I just wanted to feel better. Who
Oh,
doesn't?
yeah, of course. Yeah. I think we naturally want to be happy than sad. When
Sure.
you discover something that you don't like about yourself, how do you go about removing it and stopping it and unlearning it?
How do I do it, or how do I recommend people do it?
Is there a difference?
A little bit.
How so?
Um, my faith is very strong. I
Yes.
had an encounter with Jesus Christ when I was 16. And so I usually start with kind of complaining to the Lord. Lord, I really hate this about myself. I'm pretty sure you don't like it either. Um, you're going to have to help me with this. And then when I notice things, I might confess them. Yeah, that was a bad attitude. I really, maybe nobody else knows, but I know. And then I use psychology on myself to get some traction.
Hmm. Tony, let's talk about your at 16, how you interacted with Jesus. Tell me what happened.
Okay. So, I had a pretty tumultuous adolescence. I don't know if anybody else knew, but I was pretty like extremely unhappy.
Hmm.
But on the outside, I was doing well in school. I was reasonably popular because I'm kind of funny, or at least I was then. And so, except for the people I told, no one would have known that I was really miserable. I felt very lost and I felt very helpless. So, I was raised to go to church, but I never felt sure that God was hearing me.
Hmm.
I would pray and I followed the rules that I learned, but I never felt sure about it. And this is sort of funny. I had noticed a big change in my brother about that time because I thought, wow, he needed to clean up his life. Although he wasn't doing much different than I was,
Hmm.
but he was my little brother, so I thought he should do better. But he shared with me that you could know for sure whether or not you are going to heaven, which I thought you just do your best and hope. And he showed me in the Bible that it says, if you have Jesus as your savior, then you have eternal life. And I thought, this is exactly what I want. So I prayed. I asked the Lord to be my savior and to start to direct my life. And I started some disciplines after that of reading the Bible and praying. Um, I so it changed the trajectory of my life. I started to feel more hopeful, started to have some direction, and made some changes in how I treated people, and just lots of things.
So again, about this encounter with Jesus, how so? How did you encounter him? Just through scripture?
Um, the prayer, really.
I
I
see.
didn't know you could have like a friendship.
Ah.
It's sort of like I compare it a little bit to getting married, or like kind of like getting married. You can know somebody, but unless they're part of your intimate circle, um, it's a different relationship. And everything up till then had been intellectual of what I was taught to believe. This was relational.
Wow.
You've
And
probably heard that before.
I have, but at 16, it's interesting. So how has your relationship changed with Jesus since 16 years old? Or has it?
It's changed. I would say it's deepened.
Huh.
I started off with a very performance orientation because probably a lot of reasons. I'm the oldest, and the church I grew up in was very strong on rules, rules, rules. And so I thought, okay, these are the new rules I'm supposed to follow so that Jesus is happy with me.
Hmm.
And then as I read the Bible, I learned more and more. I'm probably never going to do things right. And so I need his power to change me, and that he loved me even when I was messing up. I went through about a year, I would say, I think it was in my 20s, where I was really unhappy with my life and I didn't think there was anything I could do about it. And so I just told, every so often I would tell the Lord, I'm mad at you and I'm not talking to you.
Hmm.
And that went on for about a year. And I thought, okay, this isn't getting me anywhere. So I sort of reconnected. It's like, I need your help. I don't like what's happening. Maybe you can give me some ideas.
Now
So
you
I
were.
guess
Go
I've
ahead.
become more real, I would say,
I
and
see.
more understanding of, a good parent loves you no matter what you do. They
Hmm.
might get mad at you and you might get disciplined, but they don't stop loving you. And that is, I think, more and more what am still learning, really.
Right. So you were mad at him because there was bad things happening in your life and you felt that he could have stopped them from happening.
Yes, he could have.
I say, but he wasn't. And so therefore you're
But he
mad at him.
didn't. Yeah, I was like, okay, I'm pretty fed up with this now.
And you've read plenty of recollections in the Bible with Job and with David, where they went through all these kinds of things, but it didn't matter. This was affecting you. And how could he let this happen?
Hey, this was my life. Those people are
Right.
in the book.
Good point. Those are just, yeah.
That's how we all are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in your 20s. Yeah. Especially in your 20s. And do you meditate now?
I meditate on scripture.
What's the difference between that and praying?
Praying is more of a conversation. Meditating is chewing on like a portion of scripture.
I see.
It's one of the, like you chew your food. So it's how you assimilate the Bible into your core.
I see. Excuse me. And how often do you meditate and pray? Is it a daily practice?
I try to read the Bible every day. I don't know that I always meditate. I study. Sometimes I get kind of, I'm fascinated right now by how people develop spiritual discernment to detect like cults, false teachers, people who lie. So I've been studying more about what some of those words really mean. There's all kinds of simple tools where you can look up a word and see what it meant in the original. And it's usually there's way more depth usually than what the English translation is.
Interesting.
It just gives you a deeper appreciation for, oh, that's what that means.
I just heard recently, I don't know which culture it was, but they have over 25 words for love. And, we love our parents, we love our dog, we love our meal, we love our jacket, we love the weather. It could be a lot deeper, and language does that. My father speaks Italian, so I do know some of that language. And there are certain phrases in Italian that just aren't in English. And I guess I could say the same for English and not in Italian too, but you do lose a little bit there, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And what is the difference between being religious and being spiritual?
I think being religious means you follow the rules of a religion. Being spiritual, I don't even call myself spiritual. Spiritual can mean a whole bunch of things, and
Right.
it isn't even necessarily connected to worshiping God. So I don't really use that terminology. I'd have to think about. I consider myself a Christian mystic, although I don't think I would say that out loud to very many people, but we're not recording. But it's the idea
We are
that
recording.
no, we aren't. Are
Yes,
we?
we are. Yes.
Okay. Is this did we already start the interview?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, how about that?
That's the idea.
So I'm a Christian mystic.
What does that mean?
What that means is that if you go back to like the early people who wrote about Christianity, like way back, a mystic was a person who had an encounter with Jesus. They weren't necessarily religious, but they had a connection. And so that guided their decisions. They're like Joan of Arc or other people. I mean, that's a dramatic example. Or St. Francis. And it guided how they lived their life. And it usually God would give them special blessings, usually to affect change. Like St. Patrick got rid of the snakes in Ireland.
Right.
So God had to help him do that.
Interesting. I never heard the term Christian mystic. I don't really know.
I made it up.
Okay.
I don't think I made it up, but.
And what happens is there ever a conflict with psychology and your Christianity?
Not for me. Psychology is a science. When you get into philosophies that are considered psychological, we're not really in the science of psychology anymore.
Interesting. And if they are the person that you're working with doesn't matter what their background, if they don't believe in God or isn't a Christian, because you're really at the science level at that point, correct?
Right. I'm fine with that, and that's mostly what I do. But for clients who want to use their faith and their connection to God to jumpstart things, I'm good with that. And I've studied different people who have found ways to help you pray in a way to break some strongholds. I can give you an example of that. I was just thinking about that this morning. So one thing that people do, especially if they're unhappy growing up, is they make vows. Now, there are good vows like a wedding vow or, technically you take an oath in court. But a vow is, I will never trust a woman again, trust a man again, open my heart again. So when we make those kinds of vows, we close off parts of ourselves and we close off the possibility for relationship to people who might be good for us. So a prayer strategy with that is to pray and say, Lord, I realize that I made this vow out of anger towards so-and-so, and this vow is sin, and it's bad for me, because most things that are sin are bad for us. So, Lord, I'm asking you to break that vow, the power of it, and forgive me for making it, and help me to find balance when it comes to my relationships with, men, women.
Interesting.
Vulnerability, whatever. So you can take it to the Lord in prayer. And I don't know that I can prove it through research, but I can tell a big difference. Many of my clients, when we pray over these things at the end of a session, many of them will say it's just something lifted.
Huh. They'll feel a physical presence being lifted? Wow.
They feel a weight being lifted during it. Wow. Sometimes they don't feel anything, but they'll just say, this isn't bothering me. All of a sudden it's gone. Or sometimes nothing changed. And it's like, well, I have to look under another rock and figure out what we need to do. It's not magic.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that psychology is all science. Is there any art to it at all?
Oh, there's a lot of art in the practice.
Interesting. So how do you make that separation? In other words, how the science is delivered and how it's received? Where's the art?
In terms of what I do, there's a lot of research that the relationship with the client has a lot to do with whether or not they get better. So they need to feel heard, but they also need to have some confidence that you know what you're doing, that you're not just, like, oh, how does that make you feel? I mean, that's like the classic that most people hate. And I don't usually do that. So, but it's the idea of forming a connection, getting to the heart of, okay, this is probably the root of what we need to address. And then here are some options for how we can do that. And so, and many times, because I give feedback to people, I'll say, well, you're having trouble with this because, and many times they're surprised. It's like, really, that could do it? I was like, yeah, I'm like 80% sure that that's why you're having trouble with this. And so when they realize that they can understand themselves better instead of just hate whatever it is about themselves they don't like, then people become hopeful. They trust me because I figured out something they couldn't figure out, and I give them options. So they're in charge of what happens. And we go at their pace. That, for me, that's how I practice. And I've been doing this for 40 years and I like it. And most of my clients like it. I won't say all of them.
Is there a right and a wrong way to practice psychology?
Well, anything unethical is wrong.
Of course. Yeah, right.
Those are probably the big ones.
And that's when they're going to perhaps say they're going to commit any kind of harm. You have to report that, those kinds of things, correct?
Yeah, and you don't take advantage of your clients. Like, you hear all kinds of stories about people who, like, in our state, there's a limit of how much, like, you can accept a gift of $20 or less. But if somebody's giving you a big, expensive gift, you can't accept it. And there's a lot of good reasons why you shouldn't. One is, if they've learned that you get love through, you have to earn love, you've just reinforced that I like you because you bought me a gift.
Wow.
Or I listen to you because you bought me a gift. Also, for certain personalities, there's strings attached to a gift. And you don't want strings. You want everything to be open and transparent, and no hidden agendas by the therapist or the client.
No such thing as a free lunch. When you're working with these people, with your clients, what are some of the common areas where people get stuck?
I would say guilt is a really big one.
Guilt.
A lot of people that I work with, I work mostly with women, but also men, they can have irrational guilt for things. It's like, you didn't do anything wrong. Okay, that person got mad at you, but you did what you should have done. And if they didn't like it, that's kind of on them. But people can feel guilt because they don't do everything other people want. That is such a big one. Men have trouble with that too, though. You can't be everything to everybody.
And how much being stuck is trauma related?
If the person has had trauma, there's a good chance they're stuck someplace.
I see.
Probably not every place, but there might be one place.
Dr. Toni, I wonder if you'll indulge me. This is purely anecdotal, and I have just found with colleagues, with friends that come to me, and I like to ask questions. As I get older, I find I have more questions than answers, and I have found that 3 ways. I just have this list that I've compiled. Again, this is anecdotal. How people get stuck. The first is trying to control things they can't control. I hear that so often. 2, the whole holding off on happiness. I'll be happy when I get the raise, or if that person treats me well, holding off on it when obviously you're under control. The third is the whole, that happened to me in the past, therefore that's where I am now. It's not much I could do about it, or that this is what's going to happen in the future and I'm concerned about it. Your thoughts about those 3, the unscientific, completely anecdotal.
Well, they're valid. They're absolutely valid.
Yeah.
People can get stuck in a certain emotion.
Mm.
So if a person is always angry, we need to get to the bottom of that.
Hmm.
And Terrence Real wrote a book quite a few years ago, but his point was, if a person is chronically depressed, they need to get angry. If a person is chronically angry, they need to grieve something.
Wow.
So you can add that to your list.
Yeah.
That's profound, isn't it?
It is.
That's a handy little tool.
Hmm.
And they can also get stuck in control is absolutely one of them. And the other side of control is passivity. So if I'm waiting for somebody else to figure this out for me, solve this for me, make my business whatever, it's like you'll be waiting a long time, because that usually doesn't happen. And so again, we want to look at, where does this come from? Maybe it's trauma where you were helpless and there was nothing you could do, and you're still stuck in that way of thinking. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes if you had sort of an overbearing parental figure who made all your decisions for you, you come into adulthood completely unprepared. And so you wait for other people to tell you what to do.
Yeah, and there's probably an offensive term that goes along with that, but I've known people that were kind of mama's boys, right? That kind of had those kind, and you could just tell they're just helpless. It's whereas the mother felt whatever guilt, whatever it was, and she felt she had to be a bit over whatever her reason is. You mentioned guilt, but I've also heard you talk about toxic guilt. What's the difference?
I suppose it's a matter of degree. So if people suffer abuse early in life, they often blame themselves. Sometimes they become angry and they stay angry. But many people blame themselves. If I wouldn't have gone here, if I wouldn't have done that, I should have known this, that, or the other. And it's like, that's not possible as a child. You can't know those things. You can't circumvent a predator. It's hard enough as an adult. You definitely can't do that as a child. So that creates a situation where that is always, if not on the front burner, it's always in the back burner. And it interferes with a lot of moving forward. It can interfere with trying new things, meeting new people, forming deep relationships. It's nasty. And so that has to be revisited. And I think of it as like draining that. And it's kind of amazing to me that I do ask specifically about that with people I work with. And it's amazing how many people still feel guilt or shame about it, even as an adult, even though intellectually they know, I guess I couldn't have stopped it, but they still kind of think about it like I should have been able to. So that has to be untangled a little bit.
Sure. Toni, 40 years of practicing this. How do you separate the weight of your clients and your personal life?
Early in my career, I figured out I can't take this home.
Right.
And I also don't look at it as, I look at it as, this person's coming in with this problem and we're going to figure out a strategy so that it gets better. And so to me, it's like detective work. We're going to figure out the source, and then we're going to come up with a strategy, and then you're going to be a lot better. And so it's very satisfying, and sometimes it's invigorating.
I can imagine. And one of those methods of change, you have something called the RIPE method.
Oh, yeah. So I taught elementary school for a couple years. That was my first career. And so I'm always trying to figure out what's a simple example or a simple little acronym to help people with whatever. And so one of the methods for change, which I also use on myself, RIPE. So determine what's the reason you want to make this change. Maybe I want to start a business. Maybe I want to lose some weight. Maybe I want to get better at playing pickleball. So what's my reason? Maybe I want to look good in a certain outfit when I go to this wedding or reunion or whatever. And then I is, if you have an image, maybe a picture of something, one thing I do is I will hang up the dress I want to wear. So I'm looking at it every day. It's like I'm getting in that dress. And so something visual to help you stay motivated. P is your plan. You have to have a plan. So how often am I going to do this? Am I cutting something out? Am I building something in? Who's going to be my support network? Some people get in a group, or you just do it with a friend. Like we're going to go lift weights or work out or run. So that will help you stick to your plan. And then I add E for excuses. We all have excuses why we're not going to do that today. And so if you write down your excuses, because I know what mine are, and then have an argument for the excuse, because my excuse is it doesn't matter if I wait till tomorrow. So my counter to that is it does matter because tomorrow turns into a month. And those things work on me. But so you have to figure out yourself. It's like, what are your excuses and what can you say to yourself? And hopefully it's not mean. We don't want to talk to ourselves in a way that we wouldn't say to a partner or a child that we love or a friend. Say things that are nice to yourself, but are still like reality based.
What if discipline wasn't about punishment, but about unlocking your best self? I spent 2.5 years writing Discipline for Greatness because discipline changed my life. And I know it can change yours too. This isn't theory. Inside, you'll find real, practical steps you can use immediately to focus better, build stronger habits, reduce stress, accomplish your goals, and bring more balance to your life. Whether you're trying to get healthier, improve your career, or simply feel more control, this book gives you the framework. Start today. Grab your copy of Discipline for Greatness at joeypins.com/book. Thank you. It is important how we talk to ourselves. That's really, I have friends who call, idiot, or, they just, they just kind of, it's not healthy long-term, is it?
No, I have to catch myself all the time. Especially when I miss a shot at pickleball.
Yeah.
That's
Darn
like,
it all.
Right. Yeah. I try not to swear. You're not supposed to swear at the Y.
Right.
And it's not consistent with my faith, but I am human.
Yeah, of course.
So then I have to okay, Lord, I'm sorry. I really wish I wouldn't have done that. And then say, all right, you'll do better next time. Figure out what went wrong. Maybe you're not positioning yourself. Why don't you try to position yourself a little differently? So yeah, it's really important, and it makes life so much smoother.
Let's talk about boundaries. Why do really emotional, healthy people still struggle with boundaries, especially with their family?
Oh, that's a big one. So, so the way we grow up, your family had certain kinds of boundaries. Maybe certain people weren't allowed to talk, or certain people always got their way, or you had to do things a certain way. So you grew up with a set of rules, we'll say. So when you grow up, not all those rules are useful. Some maybe are, and some maybe aren't. And so it's so embedded in our personality that it takes a lot of conscious effort of what isn't working, what could I do differently, and what keeps me from doing what I know would work better. And you know what? A lot of times it's guilt or fear.
Yeah, that guilt really comes back. And I don't want you to take offense to this, but I find that many of my Catholic friends, guilt comes up a lot. Why is that?
Well, I'm not a Catholic anymore.
That's
I'm a Christian
right.
mystic.
You're a Christian. Yeah, good point. But you went to Catholic school, but you're not a Catholic anymore. What's the difference?
So the good thing about Catholic school, I'll say, is it taught me structure and discipline. So that was awesome, and it served me my whole life. But not just the Catholic Church, but certain churches, and not even within a denomination is it always the same.
Hmm.
But certain groups use a lot of guilt to motivate compliance. So if your church, whatever it is, uses guilt to motivate behavior that they want, you either will rebel and throw it all away, or you'll be pretty prone to guilt.
Mm.
And so you have to untangle that a little bit.
What is the Cartman drama triangle?
Oh, that's a good one. So Karpman came up with this. It's 3 circles, and these are different styles of relating, handling relationships. And it's useful to know which one you tend to fall into. And you might have to correct me if I lose my place. So one is more like dominant. One is more people pleasing, and another is more kind of detached and withdrawn. So it's good to be somewhat dominant, but if you're always in that mode where you're controlling, leading, always in charge, that's not healthy anymore. So you have to learn how to operate with a little more flexibility. Your personality won't change, and it doesn't need to, but we need to be flexible to know when it's good to follow, when it's good to lead, when it's good to just be quiet and let other people figure things out. But when you get stuck in one way of doing things, your relationships are going to start to become frustrating. I'm glad I'm able to answer your questions.
It's wonderful. Yeah. I have to imagine that many people you talk to, especially here in the States, they're feeling really overwhelmed and just stressed. We just people work hard and generally don't take very good care of themselves with their diet and exercise. And I mean, what do you do working with people just trying to stop feeling so overwhelmed?
Well, a good place to start is those boundaries. That what am I trying to do that I don't need to do, that I don't have to do, that maybe someone else needs to do. And so starting to trim back the boundaries and then looking at what we expect of ourselves. If we try to change too many things at once, juggle too many things at once, it's not really doable. We have to prioritize. And that might mean delegating. It might mean something has to wait. But we have to be reasonable in how we manage our goals. And, there's a lot of things I'd like to do, but there's only so many hours in a day, and I have to prioritize. So those are just kind of simple things to get people started. And then when we hit an obstacle, then we poke around and, all right, so is this a control issue? Is this fear? Is this guilt? Is this feeling inadequate if you can't do everything at once? You look for the emotional root if something is stuck and there doesn't seem to be a good reason.
Is there a type of person that you won't work with?
I don't work with predators.
Huh. And how is that revealed?
Usually the reason they call. There's a series of questions that our secretary asks. And so you usually, if the court's involved, there's a good chance I'm not going to be the right person.
And why draw that limit there with a predator?
I'm not trained thoroughly enough to be able to outsmart a predator. And I would probably say something rude, which wouldn't be therapeutic.
Because you feel your emotions would get in the way?
Oh, yeah. I would just be irritated.
Wow.
Also, I prefer to work with people that have a decent success rate. And so depending on what you're trying to do, if the success rate is really low, I can't work that way. I have to see progress.
How do you know what the success rate is until you work with them?
You have a pretty good idea of like what things often get better and what things take almost a miracle or a thunderbolt. So,
Wow.
if you get if after a certain age, a person is more likely to reoffend. This is
Huh.
not like my area. We have a person in the office that's one of his specialties, and we nudge people that way.
I see.
He can handle it, and if things can change, he will make that happen.
Wow. Have you ever fired somebody?
I don't think I've had any employees.
Ha!
So,
Clients. Did you ever purposely stop working with clients?
oh, sure.
Why?
If someone really isn't doing anything I suggest, week after week after week,
Mm.
not even like a centimeter of effort, it's like I'm confused why you're coming, because I know we're not accomplishing anything, and I don't really understand, why you're scheduling with me. And there's usually like, their spouse is forcing them to do this.
Ah.
And as long as they go, they can do whatever they want and say, well, I'm in counseling. So there's usually some reason that has nothing to do with wanting change. Because
see.
I can handle it if people move slowly, that's fine. But when I see no effort and we're talking about the same thing for weeks, it's like, that's not even ethical for me to continue.
Do you work with couples?
Some.
How do you get over the barrier of what was said and what was heard?
Well, if it happens in front of me, I can point it out.
Right.
And it's bound to happen in front of me.
Right.
There's an exercise. Most people are familiar with some kind of exercise like this, where one person says something, and the other person has to repeat it without an editorial comment.
Right.
That sounds like that should be easy,
Mhm.
but you'd be amazed. Sometimes there is a drastic difference between what was said and what was heard.
Mm.
So if I am observing that, I can point it out, and I can try to help people listen better. And again, we look at, where's this distortion coming from? It comes from someplace, and it maybe has nothing to do with the people in the room.
Toni, is there something that you steadfast believed, deeply believed in 10 years ago that you no longer believe now?
I can't think of anything.
Do you find that you change your mind on topics?
Not very often, but I know you always ask your guests that at the end.
Yeah.
So I have changed my mind about something in the last 5 or 6 weeks.
You have? What is that?
I'm a little more open to AI.
What was the hesitancy?
I think there's a lot of things about it that are scary.
Yeah.
And possibly like a doorway to some bad spiritual things. But I wanted to do some projects, and like I have some audiobooks, and there's one book I'd like to get on audio. And I thought, it takes forever to record things and then edit them. And I thought, maybe I'll try and see what AI can do. So it actually did an amazing clone of my voice. When I listen to the clone, it's like I would think it's me.
Wow.
But there are some issues with, like, it'll speed up for no reason. It'll get louder for no reason. It'll completely change pitch for no reason. So that's a little annoying. But I am open to the idea that there are aspects of it I can use to further my goals without becoming a slave to it, or just like where I mindlessly give tasks to AI instead of using my own brain. And that might be the challenge for people.
Right. Right. Yeah, we don't know where it's going, but it's here. I mean, I guess that's the big thing. One of those things we can't control. It is here. Do you like being an author?
I do.
And what do you want the reader to come away with?
Everything is self-help, so it's either a deeper connection to the Lord, unload some emotional baggage. It's usually one or both.
Hmm.
It helps us be more fully alive is the phrase I like to use.
Fully alive. Is it less difficult, Toni, to heal when Jesus is there? When the Lord is there?
I think so.
Right. It does for you. But in your practice, you don't bring that up.
If people want me to, I do.
I see. Do they ask or do you?
Usually at the end of the first visit, I'll say, do you have a faith or a philosophy that you follow that helps you? And then I usually find out. And then I offer at the end of the first session, if you would like me to pray with you a blessing, I would be glad to do that. If you're uncomfortable with that, if that would be horrifying, I won't. And so then I pretty much know, like, they'll tell me, yes, I want that. That's why I'm here, you know, or like, please don't do that. It was shoved down my throat as a kid. So I was like, okay, I know what we're going to do.
Discovering triggers is something, isn't it? Because you never know, right? I've had friends like that. It's like stepping on a landmine sometimes, depending on how severe, right? I mean, they're just, oh man, I didn't know. You know, it's we all don't know what we have, what's there. When someone is looking for or wants to work with a psychologist, Toni, what questions should they be asking?
You want to know, is this person, this may seem simple, but a lot of people don't think to do this. Are they licensed? Are they licensed? What are they licensed as?
Wow.
Can they take insurance? Now, some people are licensed, but they just are fed up with insurance and won't use it. But some people don't qualify to be reimbursed by insurance. So that's raises some questions.
Wow.
You also want to know what's their specialty. I think I'm good at certain things, but I don't work with kids. So if you beg me to work with your child, it's like, that would be ridiculous. I wouldn't be any good at it. It's probably not even ethical at this point because I don't. So you want to know, what is their specialty? They might be very good, but you're not going to be good at everything. And there's always Google reviews, and most people have a website. So check out their website, see what they have. A lot of people do have some kind of social media, a YouTube channel, a podcast, something, so that you can get a flavor of how they do things. So those would be some basics.
Yeah, very, very interesting. Is there a question, Toni, that you wish more people would ask you?
At work or away from work?
You choose.
I'll say away from work. At work, you know, things are a certain way. It would be nice if people would say, do you like this?
Like what?
Anything, as opposed to assume that because they like it, you're just supposed to go along with it.
Oh, interesting.
That would be nice. Although I will say something if it bothers me enough.
So I started my business back in the 90s, Dr. Toni, and I was working way too hard. I mentioned it before, like not paying attention to myself and eating poorly and putting exercise in the back seat. And so I'm in front of the doctor, and she tells me I'm at 340 pounds. So I had gained all this terrible amount of weight. And she says to me, if you don't lose this weight, you're not going to see your daughter graduate. So my daughter was just born. Scared the life out of me. So spent the next 6-7 months, lost about 130 pounds and kept it off, right? These are lifelong challenges, lifelong changes that we make. So when I tell people this, same thing, you know, what's your secret, what you do? And I say, well, there's no secret. And you mentioned it before, discipline. That's the one word answer I always give. Routine, focus, you know, direction, willpower, all in the discipline spectrum. How does discipline play a role in your life, Dr. Toni Cooper?
Well, I think earlier when I didn't know we were recording, I gave you the example of how I have a daily time where I read the Bible and pray.
Yes.
So I'll give you another example that isn't so spiritual.
Okay.
So About 2.5 years ago, I started playing pickleball regularly. And I noticed how I got beat badly all the time. And sometimes I couldn't even get my paddle on the ball.
Whoa.
So that's pretty sad. And this is a pretty good group. They're pretty good players. So I had a decision to make. I can quit or I can play more often because I have to get better if I'm going to play.
Mm.
So I made the decision I'm going to play 3 to 4 times a week so I get better. And at first it was sort of like, yeah, you got to go. It probably won't be that much fun at first. But it got to be fun pretty fast. And then it takes care of itself. But discipline is not fun at first.
Interesting.
But you have to have a goal. And then it will get easier. It will get better. But you have a reason you want to make a change. So you have to remind yourself of that reason. Like you knew it was your daughter.
You mentioned at one point that Catholic school taught you structure and discipline. Are they synonymous?
Probably not, because you can provide a structure, but it's still at some point a person has to decide, I'm going to do this. Like you can come up with a plan for someone, for another business, for someone you're mentoring, but if they don't work the plan. So the discipline comes with, you have to talk to yourself. It's like, all right, I'm going to spend, like a lot of people want to declutter. So what we talk about is, if you want to declutter a whole room, don't even think about that. Think about, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on this today and then 15 minutes tomorrow. And so you put it in chunks that are manageable. So you come up with the plan you could really do.
As a child, was discipline in the household, was discipline discussed or exemplified, or how was it treated, you believe, looking back?
I learned it at school.
It was really at school. And at the high school level, middle school, grade school, grammar school?
So 1st through 8th grade, I was at a private school. 9th grade, I was also at a different private school. But there was more freedom because you're in high school. And then by the time I got to public school, my study habits were so good. And I was pretty disciplined and motivated in schoolwork. It was a breeze until I really got to graduate school.
Wow. Because of the structure that you had, you were just able to continue in that pattern.
Yeah. And we were taught to think, which I don't think they do anymore. I'm not sure about that.
Give me an example when you say taught to think.
So maybe we would read a passage, like something in English or whatever, and then we would discuss it and maybe even be given, like, you take this side of the debate, you take this side of the debate. Doesn't matter if you agree or not. You're going to defend this position. I guess that's how attorneys are trained.
Yes.
And so you begin to think about something as opposed to just react to it. So you formulate deeper opinions, and you're not just controlled by advertising or by trends in the culture. And I'll tell you, that's a really important skill in this day and age.
It sure is. Sure is. And what also helps with that is to see the other perspective, right? Even if you don't agree with it, okay, well, I've got to kind of steelman this. I could see why somebody would think this way, although I don't. I could see that we don't see it. We see so much polarization today, unfortunately, that people kind of dig in and don't want to see the other point of view. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You meditate, you pray, do you journal?
If I have something really significant, I journal. Like if I feel really impressed with something that I need to pray about for myself, definitely. If there's a message that I think, wow, I really need to think some more about this, then I might make some notes. That goes in a certain journal. I also take notes when I'm reading, if I'm studying something that I want to understand better, like I mentioned, spiritual discernment. So I have pages and pages of notes from probably off and on the last year of different things I've studied, looking at what the words mean, trying to connect it with other like people that I've read that are talking about something very similar. So it just sort of pulls together different pieces so that I can think more clearly about it.
I'm trying to figure out, Dr. Tony, is that when you make a decision, when you're forced to make a decision, or even not forced, but when you make a decision, I wonder how much of it is science versus art, because you're very scientific, you're a psychologist, you're very structured the way you just outlined, how you journal, your prayer, your meditation, but you also dance the cha-cha and the samba. And you also play pickleball, and when you make a decision, how do you ever rely on your gut?
Are you talking about my personal life or work?
Let's start personal. Work seems more scientific.
I would say I think about things before I make a decision. So by the time I make the decision, I'm sort of okay with whatever it is, and maybe there's emotion connected to it.
Mm,
But I've learned early in life you don't make decisions based on emotion
mm,
because you might change your mind later.
mm,
So I would say it's a process. It doesn't happen right away. At work, it's sort of it's actually a little more intuitive at work
hmm,
because you are picking up whatever's happening in the other person
hmm,
by whatever I say, how they respond. If they light up, it's like that was it.
hmm,
If they start crying, it's like, whoa, something's important here. And I'm also trying to stay in tune with the Holy Spirit because I will get ideas. It's like, there's no way that came from me. That was
hmm.
like way more brilliant than anything I could have come up with. And I think, all right, I'm going to run it by this person and say, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And they're like, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that. So I know that was the Lord like helping me
Wow.
move an obstacle for somebody.
Wow. So you have to be intuitive, right? People are communicating to you non-verbally when they're talking, and you have to be in tune with that.
Yeah, and dance is sort of like that too because you're
Hmm,
responding
hmm,
to things. You're not talking. They're not telling you like football, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Hopefully they're not doing that. Um, you are responding to what is happening from the other person. And there's not a lot of thought involved. I don't know what the word is for that. It's
hmm.
dynamic.
It is dynamic, yeah. I'll give kind of the trivial an example. So I like to play golf, and so the ball's at 150 yards. It's got a slight lie upwards. There's barely any wind. The pin's in the middle. So all the variables are telling me 8 iron. But you know what? I asked my gut at the very end, and the eight's not going to get there. I'm going to go with the 7. So I just kind of create all the facts and then just ask the little guy inside. Now that's kind of a trivial thing, of course. Well, maybe not so trivial depending on the day, but still that's kind of my process, but it doesn't seem it's yours at all.
I would say most of the time, no.
Right. You've pretty much made up your mind as you're building the facts.
It leads to a very logical conclusion.
Right. You're pretty much confirming at that point. Fascinating. What motivates you, Toni?
I like creating things. I
Hmm.
like seeing people get free. So, and I like playing pickleball. So those things get me up in the morning,
Hmm.
and every day's different.
Creating things. Give me an example.
Like a book is a creative process,
Ah.
a video is a creative process. And the way that I write things is almost always I get an idea while I'm praying or shortly after I've had my time with the Lord, and
Wow.
I will just get a creative idea out of nowhere. And
Hmm.
I know it's not me because you I'm pretty linear. So it's like,
Interesting.
okay, that was probably the Lord. And then this is why I call myself a Christian mystic. So I might say, Lord, am I supposed to do something with this? And then I will get an outline.
Wow.
It's like a download. And so I'm writing down the outline because it's like, these are the bones. And then I do the work of filling in everything else. That part is the work.
You've heard of the term the muse, of course. The muse is, but it's more of the Lord with you. It's not really a muse, or perhaps it's both.
Um,
No, it's the
I'm
Lord.
going to say it's the Lord because writing is hard work. And
Yeah.
so I write while it flows. And when it stops flowing, I'm done. I don't do, they tell you to discipline yourself to write a certain amount every day. That doesn't work for me because if it doesn't feel like I'm in tune with the Holy Spirit and we are creating something that's going to help other people, then it's like grunt work to me. And I don't think anybody benefits from that. I'm pretty sure they don't.
I hear this often, this inspiration, Toni, and artists. There's a famous, so Bob Dylan wrote the song Along the Watchtower and performed it and released it. Within days or a week, Jimi Hendrix heard it and performed it live. And Bob Dylan saw him perform it live and said, that's the way the song should have sounded. I'm never going to play it again. It came to me, but it's not mine.
Wow.
Yeah. So these artists, not all, but they believe that what comes to them isn't necessarily theirs and it belonged to them. So it's going to be different than what you're talking about because that's completely directed towards you. When you receive this kind of download from the Lord, as you say.
Well, I have a comment that's probably pretty controversial.
Okay,
but
love
some of these guys say that they sell their souls to the devil to get the inspiration. Bob Dylan being one of them.
Interesting.
So I do think things can come from another realm. That doesn't mean they're always from the light.
Huh.
Although I don't have a problem. I have to think about what are the words to All Along the Watchtower. It's great music, but I can't think of what the words are. The words would be very telling to me.
Very interesting.
A conversation between a joker and a thief.
Yeah. Yeah. That's All Along the Watchtower. That's the song. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm of that era.
Yeah. Very interesting take. So given your motivation, Toni, you said creating things, free. I hear impact as well, although you didn't say it. It's what I hear. How do you, given that motivation, how do you measure success?
Well, you don't always know the impact you're having. And so I try to be faithful to what I believe the Lord wants me to do. So I do the best that I can when I go to work. If I feel like the Lord would like me to work on a project, even if it's like something I'm not sure I know how to do, like that's part of, I felt like learning how to convert one of these books to an audiobook, I felt like that was sort of like an assignment from the Lord. And it has not been an easy assignment. Some of them are fun. Most of them are fun. This has not been fun because it hasn't worked that well. Wow. AI needs another year of growth before it can do what I want it to do. But, and so when I hit different, I think I'm still answering your question. When I hit different roadblocks, it's like, okay, I don't know what to do here. I've done everything I know. I've watched these tutorials. They're not getting me anywhere. And then a few hours later, some idea will pop in my head. It's like, oh, I should try that.
Wow.
So it's very dynamic and it's relational. It is not like a bunch of rules. So I guess I have parts of my personality that are pretty structured and orderly, but I do have ideally we all have some of both, some of the more free flowing, more of the kind of, I don't know, what's the word?
Fluid?
Yes, which I'm not very much. But we also need some of both. And hopefully, if you continue to grow as a person and you live long enough, you find more balanced and you have friends who help you balance a little bit. Because it's a process, isn't it?
Want to show your love for discipline, inspiration, and the Joey Pins podcast? Now's your chance. Introducing the brand new Joey Pins merch store, where style meets discipline. Choose from premium apparel, cozy hoodies, stylish hats, durable bags, and your new favorite coffee mug, all featuring the iconic Joey Pins logo. Perfect for podcast fans, discipline enthusiasts, or as unique gifts for friends and family. Every purchase supports the Joey Pins Discipline Conversations podcast, helping us continue to inspire greatness and promote positive change. Visit joeypins.com/store today and wear your discipline proudly. Joey Pins merch. Wear it, share it, and live it. Yeah, it certainly is. An ongoing one. Yeah. I really, really appreciate your perspective, Dr. Toni. I appreciate it so much, and I thank you so much for your time today. Anybody watching or listening and they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Go to my website, Drtonicooper.com. Everything I have a lot of blogs. I have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel. I have a bunch of books. You can find everything on there and kind of peruse what looks interesting.
Drtoni, Toni Cooper with 2 O's. I appreciate it. Next time I'm in the general Ohio area, perhaps we'll get a cup of tea.
I would be very open to that. There's a place very close to where I live.
Very good. Thank you so much. You be well.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pins Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with 1 or 2 of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pins Discipline Conversations.